convenient and secure building for all of your storage needs. We now offer outdoor covered parking for that antique car, boat, or RV. Due to our recent expansion, we offer units that range in size from as small as a bedroom closet to as big as a one-car garage. All of our units are inside and climate controlled with 24-hour access and security. Our leases run month to month, so you're not locked into a long-term commitment, giving you the flexibility to move your belongings out the minute you purchase your new home. Stop by today or give us a call, 530-8003. That's 530-8003. Jessup Premium Storage.
The cool, clean, and secure.
This is Sammy Dixon at the all-new Mike Butch Ford in Blackshear. If you haven't had a chance to come see our new state-of-the-art showroom, then there's no better time than right now. While you're here, take advantage of huge savings on new Ford trucks. Get more than $10,000 off from select new F-150s while they last. You must hurry. They're going fast. Over $10,000 off on the best-selling truck in America for 39 straight years. You can also take advantage of money-saving, low interest rates on new and certified pre-owned vehicles. Our new bigger showroom means more inventory, and that means bigger savings for you. Come to the house at Good Service Built and buy from Mike Butch Ford, and we'll give you 5 free oil changes following 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty.
If you're looking for an incredible deal on a new or pre-owned vehicle from the dealer who has always put you first, stop the search. Call the all-new Mike Butch Ford in Blackshear.
This is Sammy Dixon saying thank you. Thank you very much for your business.
All right, 2 minutes after 8 o'clock, Monday morning, the 4th day of April. You're listening to WIFO-FM in Jessup, 105.5 on your FM dial. Butch over here with you. And we're going to have sunny skies today, high today near 78 today, 46 right now. And the autumn barometer is at 9.7 feet and rising. It is now time for the world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by Mike Butch Ford in Blackshear, Jessup Premium Storage out here on the Waycross Highway, and also brought to you by Parker Insurance and Realty, located on Macon Street in downtown Jessup. Bob, we got a special guest in this morning.
We continue to bring you the comments from the candidates running for political office, and we've got the man in the studio today, the sheriff, the high sheriff.
The high sheriff.
John Carter. How you doing, John?
Doing fine, Bob. Glad to be here on this show, the world-famous Butch and Bob Show.
Well, you've been a guest many times. Like I said, you're always welcome, but you're in campaign mode. You got the primary on May 24th and then the general election on November 8th, and tell us how the campaign's going and how do you plan to get out and see everybody and get everybody's vote?
I think it's going well, Bob. It's working, especially this last week. We had a major crime that we were all working, including myself, so that delays me some. But I see as many people as I can, and I try to talk to them as they come by. I have a lot of people come by the office. It's not possible for me to go door to door and work. If I was unemployed, I might could do that, but I can't do that at this point in time. But I want the folks to know that, I appreciate their confidence in me, allowing me to be their sheriff for the last 11 years, and I want to continue to be their sheriff. I hope that my record will speak for itself. We've done a good job, and we continue to try to come up with new, innovative ways to improve the services we can give our citizens with the budget that we have to work with, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, most people know who the sheriff is, but they don't know the dynamics of the office. So tell people how many people work under you. What's the dynamic? How many people? How many shift changes?
Chain of command, in a sense. And plus, what you talk about.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and you're right. Most people think it as a law enforcement officer, much like a police department, and it's so much different from that. Technically, the sheriff is the only CEO in the entire criminal justice system. It has 3 major areas of work that he has to do, that being courts and court services, that being jail operations, and then general law enforcement, which entails criminal investigations, drug enforcement, and that type of thing. Last year, matter of fact, about this time last year, we took the 911 center under our wing, so that added 13 more people, 12 dispatchers plus 1 IT person. In the jail, we have 25 positions we're currently advertising. We don't have them all filled. That's 23 jailers plus administrative assistant plus the jail administrator. In the sheriff's office, right now we've got a few more positions, but we had, before we got the 911 center, we had 55 people total in the whole entire sheriff's office. But In the deputy and investigator side, we had 30 people, 31 counting me. We will soon be about 33 or 34, depending. We still are trying to figure out if we've got that other person, and we've got some that we dedicated to the, the new criminal investigative task force and the drug task force that we just created and merged with the city. We've obligated one more person in each of those divisions when we get them all up and running. But right now, the city and us are in the same situation. We don't have enough people online to put anybody off till we get these other positions filled where we're short. So we're a little behind on that, but they're doing an excellent job. But basically, we got right at 70 people in the entire sheriff's office. That's counting 911 center, jail. That's not counting my bailiffs in the court system, because they're civilian workers, but they come out of a different budget than the budgets that we just named. The three budgets I have basically are 911 center's got a separate budget, the jail's got a separate budget, and the sheriff's office has a separate budget.
That's amazing. You don't think about that as the sheriff's office, the sheriff in Wayne County and a lot of other counties have all those responsibilities, from the court to the jail to just regular police work, 911 service here in town, just a lot that y'all have to look after there. You can basically say that you're a chief executive officer because you oversee so many departments.
Well, I was amazed, say the 911 center, we'll use it for example. I mean, they're answered about 15,000 calls a month. I mean, I know that's fire, that's police, that's us, that's everything to dispatch. I mean, but it was, even I did not realize, how busy they are till it became, under me, an office under my office. And it is part of the sheriff's office now. But the new investigative task force we just talked about, they're doing the 100 plus cases a month easily. Our deputies, we're answering about 3,000 calls a month. So, patrol, we're staying busy. And the downside to that is you don't get to do much proactive patrolling. You don't get to patrol the neighborhoods to prevent crimes. You're too busy responding to calls.
Just joined us, Sheriff John Clark in the studios with us. We're fortunate we don't live in Savannah where there's a shooting every day. And we did have a shooting last week, as you mentioned, over Easter weekend, but they have two suspects in custody. Can you give any update on that, or how were you able to find those suspects as quickly as possible? You get arrested quickly, so I know you can't give a lot of details, but people are still asking about the motive, what took place. Can you give something?
I was extremely proud. It started with patrol, and even the Scrivener Police Department came over and assisted us on the initial call. Once it was determined that we had a shooting victim at that time, it first came out, we didn't know if it was a fatality or not then. Of course, the detectives came out. They called the GBI, which we always do because we want all the help we can get. Name of the game to me is let's solve the crime. I'm not worried about who gets the pat on the back, but the GBI has always helped us. They've got crime scene. They've got equipment that we don't have.
All right, that's normal procedure though for a murder, right? For the GBI to be called in. I mean, that's just
not just murders. A lot of the other major crimes that we have. I call our request their assistance, and then most of the time we can get it. Sometimes, they've got more counties than just Wayne, so sometimes they have to go other places, but they've been a great help to us, me and my investigators, especially when, it bleeds over, say, other counties. It might be, we had one not long ago that, we had people in Clayton County. That's a long way, so, they've got the ability to contact agents up there and do interviews and stuff that we can't necessarily do here without going up there. I mean,
how about the jail? How many people in the jail on a daily basis? How big's the jail? I know the DA's office made a conscious effort a couple of years ago. There's a time period where people were sitting over there forever, and they've done a good job of bringing judges in here on a daily basis, weekly basis. They don't stay as long as they used to stay in jail. Is that correct?
That's correct. And as you well know, we're having 20 plus days, 25 to 26 days of court a month now. Sometimes that's double and 3 courts going in one day. And, trying to get these cases through. And many of them are drug cases. If you go to drug court, which I know you've been, you see it's full too. We are making drug cases. That's why they're in court. But to answer your question, 2 years ago, our population was well over 200. I say well over 200. I mean, 210 in a jail that's designed to hold 170 is a lot of people. Right now, we're averaging between 145 and 155. They're keeping the population down. Majority of those are probationers that are waiting on hearings. That's really not the DA's, doing anything, or our public defender for that matter. They're both doing a good job. We continue to try to get the cases in court. They continue to try to dispose of them as best they can. Now, some of these higher profile cases, like a murder case, it takes a long time because you have so many motions and that type of stuff that you have to do. And technically, we're still waiting on stuff in the crime lab on the most recent one there to tie some more stuff together with it.
Yeah, it takes a long time for, once the murder takes place, for the trial to eventually get to trial. I'm talking sometimes 2-3 years before it gets there.
I would say average is, at least a year and a half.
Right.
18 months is about average.
Case in point is the Vaughn lady that was, found in the river. That murder case still pending, still hasn't come up to trial yet. Still motions and, like I said, evidence, things like that. So just a long, drawn-out process.
It takes a long time, and that's one of the benefits of living in the United States. You got due process, and due process means you get to go through every avenue that the public defender or the defense can come up with to protect their client, and then you got the prosecution on the other side trying to do the prosecution by making sure everything's right. You don't want it thrown out on technicalities. You don't want it thrown out because you did something wrong.
Another job of the sheriff, each year the county does their budget. You have to meet with the commissioners, discuss the budget, things like that, to explain that process, how that works, give and take. They ask you to cut back, you need personnel. So tell us how that process works each and every year.
Well, it's tough. I've got, it is. I've got a third budget now. Like I said, I've got 911 now. Usually, what I do is the chief deputy handles the majority of it. I usually tell him what I want doing. This is things I want in the budget. What we normally do as an office, and then he and I meet regularly with the patrol captain, jail administrator. They go through and they list the stuff that they need, and we classify it. We got priority needs, we got needs, and we got wants. And sometimes we're lucky if we get all our priority needs. But I mean, that's pretty much the way we classify stuff. We put it down. We'll submit what we are requesting. The county administrator and the county commissioners will look at that. We met with the county administrator this year. We went down at one of the first times I think I've done this in my career anyway. We went line item by line item. Now, before I presented it to them, and we went what they had questions with, but the one I submit is like a small notebook each year, so they've got plenty of time to read it and kind of understand, where they won't be completely in the dark. They'll understand what I'm looking for and why I'm looking for it, because I present them with statistics, how many traffic crashes we investigate, how many calls, all that stuff is in there for them to look at. I also do a comparison with other counties. The counties our size, I try to pick usually with something within 5,000 or 6,000 of our population, and what their budget is, how many people they got, how many square miles that they have to patrol, because that makes a difference. For example, Peach County and Wayne County are very similar in population, but Peach County's 294 square miles, as we're 648 square miles. So it's a big difference in what areas you got patrolled.
And you're out there campaigning, you have opposition in both the general primary and then the general election. You'll have opposition all the way to November. So, and tell us about the campaign. Do you know much about your opposition? I said I tried to get your opponent twice to come on the show. He's denied both times to come on. Hopefully he'll come on before the primary, but don't know much about him. Do you know much about your opponent?
I do not know a lot about his qualifications or what he's done supervision of law enforcement, for example. I don't know any of those things. I know that he was a state trooper for, he says 32 years. I know at least part of that was as a radio operator, because I remember when I was a deputy on the street, he was a radio operator, I believe, in Hinesville at that time.
So you don't have, like, don't know much about him, didn't have any interaction with him during law enforcement?
No, he was gone from here most of his career, working in other places. So I don't know. We didn't do a lot of interacting as far as, be with as a deputy sheriff or chief deputy. When I moved up, I was chief deputy 14 years, so I haven't had any much interaction with him through that part of it through the years.
Right, your opponent on the Democratic side, you're familiar with him because you dismissed him. We had him on here, people are still trying to wrap their hands around the facts aren't the truth and the truth aren't facts. But we outlined the facts, but that doesn't seem to prevent him from running for office, so he'll be on the ballot all the way in November.
That's right, so whoever wins the primary will obviously meet him in November. He, threw up a records request. You got his own paper. I mean, I don't have to go into that. It speaks for itself. So that's something he'll have to deal with.
Well, times have definitely changed. Like I said, anybody with a keyboard can get on and make accusations, things like that. I don't have Facebook, but I've heard stories about all these accusations that somebody told me the other day. Said they even had an accusation that they got video of you supposedly taking down somebody's sign or something like that. Have you heard that?
Well, I can assure you, if they had video of me tampering with somebody's sign, it'd be on WTOC by now.
Well, we talk about that here on the radio station. We have checks and balances and things that we have to do to make sure that we give the facts the best way that we can get them. Social media, you don't. Anybody can put anything on there that they want. They may have an agenda. They may hear somebody that says something. So, if you just because you read something on Facebook or any other social media, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Well, Facebook can be a good thing, but it can be destructive. So you need to fact check stuff, because it's one of the number one rumor mills, and it's the quickest way to get it out there. And even Bob knows. Bob's called me and says somebody said on Facebook that we had a triple murder in Wayne County. I said, Bob, trust me, we didn't have a triple murder in Wayne County. I would know it. Well, and usually it's another county.
The last one was the major drug bust. They had pictures of these DEA agents in Wayne County, but they didn't check to see it was Wayne County somewhere else. Everybody's calling. Why don't you have a big drug bust on the radio? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, there's on Facebook this big major drug bust in Wayne County. I called John and said, Bob, that's Wayne County.
There's a lot of Wayne counties out there throughout the United States.
There are.
Carolina, Illinois. I mean, you put Wayne County in there, and you see how many Wayne counties in the United States there. There's a lot of them.
And even with scanners, they get part of the conversation, and then it turns into something that it's really not. That we get calls on sometime too, but that's just part of it. I mean, people are curious, and that's natural. But when you seeing something posted on Facebook, you really need to check it out before you accept it as fact.
That's right.
Or any debate set up or anything? Is there going to be any forums or anything that anybody's setting up? Have you heard anything about that?
The NAACP normally has one. I haven't talked to anybody. I was at their banquet, but we didn't discuss that. But they normally do one. AARP's done some in the past. Some of the election I've been to, or at least had both of us there at the same time to speak to them. Or all the candidates. In this case, it'd be three of us. Last time it was just two. But
how long have you been sheriff? You said we assume everybody knows who John Carter is, but there might be people out there who don't know who the sheriff is. Tell people a little bit about yourself. How long you been sheriff of Wayne County?
Well, I've been sheriff 11 years. Before that, I started my career as a deputy sheriff in Wayne County. I then moved up to chief deputy, where I served for 14 years. My sheriff retired in 2004, and I ran, and I was lucky enough to be elected by the people of Wayne County, and I started my first term as sheriff in January 1st, 2005, and I have been sheriff since, and this is my 11th year. At the end of this year, we'll complete 3 full terms, which will be 12 years.
Well, you apparently still enjoy the job and still want to do it.
I do. I like it. You get up, you want to go to work in the morning, but, it's full of challenges and opportunities now. Trust me, every day there's something new comes up that I think I've seen everything, but I find out quickly that I have not.
Well, we've always talked about it before. There's people in law enforcement will never have to worry about a job slowdown. What I mean is the fact that there's always going to be, look like from everything through the history of man, there's always going to be lots of crime. So there's going to be lots of work for law enforcement personnel locally, statewide, and nationally.
Job security.
Job security. Job security.
Well, that's a fact. Unfortunately, that's going to be. It always has been throughout, the history of the world, basically.
Yeah, well, that's just the way humanity is.
And then we're trying, like I say, we're innovative. We try new things. You have to in the drug world because they're all the time changing. We must change with them. But there's things that we have to adapt to. As you well know, law enforcement's under attack nationwide now.
Oh yeah.
So we're trying to adjust and figure out ways that we can more interact with our community in a better ways.
I'd like to go back to this, I'd like to talk about the positive thing that drug task force has been set up. It was set up, I believe November 1st was the first day it came about, but it's really making great strides. I mean, I know as a news reporter, I can see the reports that come in. Like I said, Doug Lewis is taking that by the horn, and I said the joint effort between the police department and the sheriff's department has really done wonders as far as fighting this drug trade. Again, it's been a big issue for years, and Wayne County continues to be an issue, but your thoughts on the strides that this task force has made since it formed in November?
I think they're doing a great job, but getting back, it's City Manager Mike Deal and Chief Lynn Takaki and I had discussed it, and we wanted to implement it. And when Doug Lewis, my new chief deputy, came on board, that was one of the first things I tasked him with, and he's done an excellent job putting it together. And it is working. I think it's a positive thing for this community. I think we need to do, and something I didn't mention that we've done since we combined both of these organizations, the drug and the investigative part of it. On the drug part, we're meeting with the counties around us, namely Liberty, Long, and Tatnall right now. We're trying to get more on board. We already had a great relationship with Glenn County, with their Glenn Brunswick Narcotics Enforcement Team, but we're working with them. We're meeting once a month, and we're sharing information. We're getting out of this turf war stuff. We're sharing information. I don't care if it gets caught in Liberty County or Long County, just as long as we get them off the street. But we know that much of our activity is coming from county to county, especially us three counties towards Savannah. So we're working with them on the drug task force. On the criminal investigative task force, they meet about once quarterly and do the same thing. So we're trying to get this information shared where we can, because a lot of this carries over county after county after county, some 3 or 4 counties away. So we're trying to work on that. And that's one of the innovative things that we're doing.
It's just amazing how much crime would be gone away if it wasn't for drugs. You know that? Just amazing from the time, from just arresting folks with drugs, dealing drugs, people stealing to buy drugs, just all that. It's just a large part of it. I think about 70–80% of probably crimes are drug related in some sort of way. What do you think?
That may be a low percentage, but you're right. It's a large percentage. I was looking at before I came here this morning on news this morning. They had a segment on there of 50% of high school students are using or have used drugs. Now that's pretty high.
That is high. That is very high. Now, what about law enforcement personnel, let's say here in South Georgia's view on marijuana now? I mean, other states are legalized it in some sort of way, and all kind of stuff. Is it still that drug that you go after, or is it something that there's other ones that are more important when you're trying to work with limited personnel?
We go after drugs. If it happens to be marijuana that you got, then that's going to be what we deal with. Now, as far as me and personally as a sheriff, I oppose legalizing marijuana. The Sheriff's Association itself opposes legalizing marijuana in the state of Georgia.
Because y'all see on a day in, day out basis what it does to people.
Yeah, I mean, I've got several reasons. I don't know if we got time to discuss them all today, but one of it is I don't understand they're anti-tobacco, but they're promoting marijuana, which has got 5 or 10 times the toxins that tobacco's got in it. So I don't understand why you want to promote one over the other.
Yeah. Okay.
and decriminalizing it's another thing that they've discussed. Now, whether they'll do that or not, it was mentioned some sort of civil penalty, but I don't know where that is. That was in the legislature at one time, but I don't think anything's going to get through this year.
Well, I don't think this year. I don't think it'd be a long time the way things are in Georgia right now that you'd ever see it legalized in any type of way here in the state of Georgia. We're pretty conservative here in the state.
I believe it was Alan Peake was the one that was pushing it. That was his bill in the legislature this year, but I think it was voted down. I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay. So how are the pickups working out for law enforcement vehicles?
For rural county, I think it's worked well for us, and it was the best deal for us to get the trucks. Fuel mileage wise, it's wasn't a whole lot of difference between it and the Crown Vic. And when they quit making the Crown Vic, other alternatives were so much more expensive than what we could get pickup trucks for. So a lot of counties were going to them, and that's, we're rural too. So I went and looked at several counties that were using them, talked to the sheriffs there, talked to the deputies there. So, it wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction that we did, but we researched it a little bit before we started buying them.
So they're working out very well for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Anything else, Bob?
Just always a pleasure to have you in the show. I said you're always welcome. I said we go way back, been friends for a long time. Yeah, been accused of supporting you, so I'll just go ahead on record and say I'm supporting you. But that shouldn't prevent the other people from coming in. I said Kevin Johnson's been on the show. I said I promised Mr. Cameron if he comes on, we'll treat him as nice as we possibly can. We'd love to have him in here to express his views and why he's running. But I said he's been invited twice, and he's said he doesn't have time. So hopefully he'll change his mind between now and May. But again, if that's the reason he's not coming, I'll just tell everybody that's it. You got my vote, John. It's only one vote, but you got my vote.
Well, I appreciate that. But one thing I need to say real quickly too, that we have a prom coming up. Each year I come on, so I won't have to come on or tell you I'm coming, and you have to move somebody else. But we're going to be out there, and our goal is for we don't want to lose any of our kids or any of our kids get hurt. That's the goal. We don't really want to catch anybody. Not to catch anybody would be the best thing that could happen for us. But we're going to be there. We're telling you. I'm not keeping it a secret. We're going to be looking for impaired driving. We're going to be looking for speeding. We're going to look at some seatbelt. We're going to be looking for distracted driving, all those things that cause accidents. And I'll remind you that from April to June, the deadliest cause for 18 to 26-year-olds is traffic crashes. So, these are the deadliest months coming up, and we want to try to prevent all those things that we can.
Yeah, it's just buckling up. We talk about it all the time, seatbelt use. I tell a story all the time. I was bad about it when I first came to Wayne County. I didn't wear a seatbelt, and I kept covering crashes. And John Hammock, a former Georgia State patrolman who was in the Touchdown Club, asked me, "Do you wear your seatbelt?" And I had to say, "No, I really, I'm not good about wearing my seatbelt." He said, "Well, let me tell you something. If you wear your seatbelt," he said, I've covered crashes for many, many years. He says, when I get to a crash, if you're wearing your seatbelt, you have a chance to survive. Your survival rate goes way up. But if you don't have that seatbelt on, and we have story after story about people being ejected from a vehicle for not wearing their seatbelts, and they just don't survive. So again, seatbelt usage is very, very important. And I wish people would understand that. If you wear that seatbelt, your survival rate goes way up if you're in a crash. But if you don't have that seatbelt, we've had story after story, and you've seen as well, where they get ejected from the vehicle and they have no chance to survive.
Or either, and I've seen it many times where I've watched the paramedics go over there and take that little nail they do at the bottom of the foot, and you see they're paralyzed. I mean, it's not just fatalities. You can get maimed for life, when you're especially ejected from a vehicle. And that's one of the main things. Seatbelt, when you overturn, is probably that has saved more lives than anything. But the thing I hear, if I'd had a seatbelt on, I'd have been killed. Or what if I go in fire and water? Well, let me tell you, fire and immersion in water happen in less than 0.5% of the accidents. So, where you want to take your chances, that's up to you. But I wear mine. I highly suggest everybody else wear them, especially the group I just mentioned, 18 to 26 are notorious for not wearing them.
This is amazing. I mean, I don't feel right when I'm in a vehicle without my seatbelt on. And I've been in an accident before where I've been upside down and those seatbelts held me and the passenger with me up in the seat so we didn't fall down and hurt ourselves.
Well, you know, I got Safe Kids. We worked on that, and Captain Hires with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. We work with them, and we try to have car seat classes or these fairs that we have people out there to car seat techs. Any of that, we'd be happy to help you. Like I said, we got Safe Kids. Kyle Irvin does an excellent job with that, and we appreciate it. And, you know, Safe Kids, EMA, Donnie Ray, and I adopted that program, so we both share the funding for that program now.
We've got a couple of comments that have come in on our text line. Sheriff Carter, this is a comment that just came in on our text line. It says, Sheriff Carter is one of the finest in the state. We are lucky to have him.
Well, thank you. I don't know who that is.
I don't know who it is either. And of course, you remember about Disney, who said they would not do any business in the state of Georgia if that bill was passed a month ago. Y'all remember that? I can't remember what the bill was. It says according to it's according to if Disney gets behind marijuana. Kind of a slapstick there.
I understand that.
Yeah, because it's always about the money, but I don't think you'll ever see that happening. But you never know these days.
Well, it's about the money, and there's no doubt about that. And you know, I was a little bit disappointed that the governor, you know, did what he did. But that was, you know, he'll have to explain his reasons.
Yeah, and he didn't have to run for re-election, so you don't have to worry about that end of it. All right, but Sheriff Carter, we do appreciate you coming in, and once again, just emphasizing the focus to the kids out there that you're going to be out there in force on prom weekend. So,
and graduation too.
And graduation. And so students, be aware, no surprise, you're going to see them out there. So be safe.
Well, it's a milestone in their lives, and we want them to be safe.
All right. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Sheriff John Carter, our special guest this morning, Wayne County Sheriff John Carter, our special guest this morning on the world famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by Parker Insurance and Realty.